leaked. Bottom of the top sandwich plate. Bottom of the bottom sandwich plate too, it looks like. Welcome back, my Super Crew. I didn't forget about you. Let's do some more WRX content. Alright, last year I installed the CXRacing oil cooler, and I also got the top mount oil cooler brackets from a little company called S-Good that allows you to put that in the location where your top mount intercooler usually goes. I have a front mount intercooler, so it was pretty neat to use that space and get a little bit of functionality where there was nothing there currently. Anyway, I had 2 videos about all that, getting it stenciled, looked pretty good, and then getting it installed. Well, it started leaking. There are 2 sandwich plates that go below your oil filter. So on the WRX, your oil filter is conveniently located on top of the motor, but because of that and spacing issues, it has 2 sandwich plates. Well, it leaked from both of those. Anyway, I got pretty frustrated. I decided I was going to put some RTV gasket maker in between those sandwich plates to see if I could get it to stop leaking. And I did that, but part of the problem is there is hardly any material on the bezel of the outside of those sandwich plates to get any material on to begin with. And then when I was hooking up the AN-8 lines, getting those hooked back up, one of the fittings just snapped off. So we replaced the fitting, and then I hooked it back up and it just leaked again. So I got super frustrated and just gave up with that thing. So I think I finally have a solution now. We have a new sandwich plate from Mishimoto along with some coupling screws that go along with that. I'll show you all that. Let's take a look. If you like content for the 2015 and up Subaru WRX, browse through the videos on my channel and see if any of those interest you. Consider subscribing. We got A90 Super stuff too. Thanks for being here. Here's our setup. So let me preface this by saying this is my experience. Your experience might be different, but my experience so far with the CXRacing oil cooler hasn't gone well. So these are -8 AN lines that are provided with the CX kit. Now, one of the times removing it, or I guess putting it back on, I was tightening back down and the fitting just snapped off at about that point. I didn't think I put too much pressure on it, but apparently I did. So this fitting down to here had to be completely replaced. James helped me with that. I have footage from last year of us doing that, or him doing it and me watching. I thought that was pretty interesting. We'll throw that clip here in a moment. So the core, I think the oil core is actually fairly solid. I believe it is similar, if not identical, to the one that Mishimoto uses in their kit as well. So I actually wanted to put my own flavor on it. So I painted it, stenciled it. So if you want to see those first 2 videos, I'll put a link up here in the right. You can check out those videos of the first time going through this process. And then again, it has these S-Good brackets, and so these will allow us to use that in the top mount intercooler location. I thought that was the neatest part about it. The S-Good company, I haven't looked lately, again that was last year, but to find their product you actually have to look them up on Facebook. But I think it'd be pretty cool if it worked. So let's see what the problem was. So the CX kit comes with these 2 sandwich plates. So both of these are going to be below your oil filter. So this one goes on top of your oil cooler, then this one goes on top of that, and your oil filter goes on top of that. Well, this O-ring, as you can see, this particular one never fit exactly right. And now that I'm looking at it later down the line, you can see those 2 fittings on the top aren't even the same size. That's just how it came. Like the inner diameter looks the same, but look at the bolt on the outside. It's not even the same size. So let's get rid of that. Another part of the problem, a big part of the problem, I took a caliper all the way around here, and the length was higher on one side than the other. So throughout the machining process, it's not level. And you can tell if you measure with a caliper, see the O-ring gasket we have in here, you can kind of tell that it's not completely flush across the bottom. So I replaced this O-ring. I took a seal out of a cheap Fram oil filter that happened to fit really well. We are still going to try to use this portion, however. So we just want to see if we can still get a good seal. This part we're not going to use. So we found a universal Mishimoto sandwich plate. Now I also had to get, this is actually 2 of these coupling bolts here. So this was like, the sandwich plate was probably like 60, 65 bucks. Each one of these bolts was like 25 bucks. Plus I had to get new AN fittings. These were M20 to -8 AN. And then we had to find some like little rubber washers that fit in there, if you can see behind the fitting, and one there as well so it spaced properly. So when we put this back together, it'll fit on there like that. So to give you kind of an idea of what we're dealing with, let's turn the lights around. Let's get this popped with one hand. Okay, so we got the big space up there because there's no top mount. Intercooler. We got our nice ETS 3.5 inch thick core down there. Well, let's utilize this space. We still got the snorkel and all that good stuff. So with the S-good brackets for the oil cooler, it'll actually attach one arm up there. That's the old top mount intercooler bracket. The other one's going to connect over here. We will share this space with this other bracket. There's the pipe from the intercooler front mount going to the intake manifold, but we're going to share this location, so that'll come off the intake manifold. So then we'll have it right there. So that is how it is going to look. We'll try to get it put back on there. Again, you're going to have a tall stack of things going on here with the 2 sandwich plates. So we just want to make sure we don't hit the hood. I have the inner lining removed already. So let's go back and look at the clips of replacing that AN fitting that James did. Again, that was from last year, but I thought it was pretty interesting. And now I've created a new problem for myself. So when you're tightening this down, just get it fairly tight with a few turns, but don't keep continuing because that end just broke off. I don't see any way that I could reattach that with it still being able to hold liquid. So I already have a replacement piece. This is a 8 AN line fitting. So we're going to splice this, cut this here, get the new end piece attached on that fitting. James is going to save me because he has better tools than I have, including a vise, a freestanding vise.
A real vise?
Yeah, I might have to work on that. Some lunchtime splicing. Oh yeah, I guess that will come off. I was probably just gonna start taping up the threads, the braided threads, and cutting it. Do you use a angle grinder when you cut those?
I do. And in theory, I could just pop off that end, but who knows if it'll be straight or anything else. I popped it off and it instantly.
That's why we cut it and tape it, then cut it.
Yep. How much extra length you got on this?
Oh, that I could easily lose half a foot, but we won't do that. We'll just cut off an inch or so, or 2 or 3. Oh, okay, yeah. So you have this is definitely why we come to James, because he's got this perfect clamp holder.
This is what we're putting on in this direction, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if we can get this on here.
Should we leave the tape on?
We'll pull it off as soon as we get past the steel braids.
Gotcha. Sneak it out the bottom. Yeah, it smells like burnt rubber and burnt metal. I love it.
That has not gone great. All right.
So does it like...
So you can see the rubber seated all the way against the bottom of the threads.
Which is what we want. Awesome. Right. Oh, that's cool. So it's got the teeth so you can do it either direction.
Yeah.
And they're at that like 45 to meet the AN angles.
You always want to lube these. The threads are not very strong. They're all aluminum.
Oh, right. I did hear about that. So does this, as it goes in, just kind of spread out and help keep it tight?
Yeah, so this taper is going to push inside that rubber and just force it to the inside of this barrel. I think that's what they call that.
Then Grant will try to remember not to screw it down too hard next time and ruin it.
Yep, that'd be a good thing.
That and these lines were probably shit to begin with.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Not so fancy dancy tool out.
That looks familiar. I think that was from our Amazon friends.
It was. And when there's 10 brands of the exact same thing,
even though
you pick the one with the name Evil in it.
Right. It's like in between 8 and 10. So I was like, I had a 10, so I ordered a 10 replacement fitting. No, it's an 8. I didn't even bother going to local like O'Reilly's or AutoZone. They wouldn't have any of this, would you think?
They have some of it, but I don't like going to those stores for things that performance related.
Well, I think that's about it, huh?
Should be it.
Oh man.
Easy peasy with the right tools.
Thank you, James. Here's the oil filter. The oil cooler's down here. There is a way to not use the oil cooler. You can bypass the coolant system and just splice them together. If you want to go thermostatic or non-thermostatic, we are going to retain the oil cooler. So, got my oil filter loose. Got it wiped up in there. So here is the first sandwich plate. We've got some oil put around this seal right there. So that will go on the bottom. Here's our first coupling piece from Mishimoto. Then our washer that we got that fit in there to space it evenly. So we'll put that down to 35 foot-pounds. You can use a 27 millimeter or a 9 1/16. It's about the same size. Then let's put our spacing O-ring on. We can do this top sandwich plate. We can re-angle this later if we need to, depending on how we want to get our feed lines in and out. So again, we also put some oil on the O-ring. Get our second coupling piece. 35 foot-pounds again. I still do have oil in these feed and return lines, so I'm going to have to get some gravity assist on these. I'll probably hold them up like I did last time. I'll Velcro them on through the latch here or something. Keep those lines elevated while we mount the oil cooler. Then we get to our attachment points. So let's start getting that mocked up. I missed that. That looks awesome. Alright, on these feed lines, so I just had some Velcro straps, held them up there just like last time, because we do have oil in here. There's about 0.4 quarts in there, so you fill up with a funnel before you attach the lines. That way it has oil in there and you're not pumping it through dry when you initially start it up with the oil cooler. Now, looking at the filter with the Mishimoto universal sandwich adapter, it does look like it's hanging off a little, but if I feel around, I can feel that the oil filter gasket is making contact because it's beyond that point against the sandwich plate. Wish me luck. I hope this thing doesn't leak this time. Please don't leak this time. It looks so awesome. I want to use you. Got it routed. I might decide on a different path later on, but let's try it out. We got our AM fittings tightened down. Not too much though. Careful to just get them snug, don't over tighten, because like I said, that's how we broke the last one. That's why this one's replaced. I'm scared. Should we start it up, see if it leaks again? I guess we're gonna do it. Attempt number 1 for today, fail. Started leaking here on each side. So I just had these rubber O-rings that were going against this. So I switched it out for some nylon, harder plastic. Now I had to go to the store, go to Home Lowe's, find something close. Then I bored them out with a step bit. So we will try that next. So we'll get this one off, get this rubber O-ring off and replace that with a nylon ring there, nylon washer. We'll try that instead. Let's give it another go. Alright, I think I finally got the bleeding to stop. We got these guys back here up against our nylon washer, sitting just tight enough. Those are pretty tight. These are tight enough not to break and not to leak. I also noticed I didn't have one of these AM fittings quite tight enough, so I made a mess down there. Got it cleaned up. Changed the oil. It's only been about 1,000 miles since its last oil change, but now we're on E85. You got to change it a lot more often. And one thing turned into another. I decided, let's do some other things while I'm at it. So just kind of update what's going on with the car. freaking salvage tile. Just kidding. This Icon V6 splitter. I like it because it jets out so far. It's a lip, not a splitter, but it looks like a splitter because it has all the length to it. But it's already cracked up. It's real faded. It looks like crap. I actually have a new one of those. And this time I'm going to put some clear coat on it. So while I was doing that, I was like, okay, well, got the lip off. What else should we do? So these headlights I got, I did it in a previous video. I think they look great. They're only like 250 bucks. Well, I was just driving it in the summer and even early in the morning. It was still bright outside. So as far as functionality, I found out that this C-light eyebrow totally blocks the projection of the low beam. I'll insert a clip of that. Look at this light projection. I am straight on with the garage door, and look how it is just cut off on a straight line. I think that's where the C-light, that little eyebrow on the light, is partially covering up your low beams. And it's not even straight across. It's lower on this side than that side. Oh boy, I think I'm gonna be putting the stock lenses back in. That's ridiculous. But anyway, it was cutting off the low beam, even at a different angle on each side. So like aesthetically, they're looking good, but functionally, not so much. So I think I'm gonna put the factory ones back in. I also did replace those with some, I got some new bulbs as well, some LEDs that are pretty bright. So we'll get those thrown on. Now we're gonna put my big mouth hood scoop to use. Some people either love this or hate it. I love it. We got the snorkel, fits right over there. You're gonna be feeding it some nice cool air. Perfect. So that oil cooler should bring temperatures down about 20 degrees on your oil temperature. When I really beat on this thing, it can get up to 225, 26 degrees. Hopefully we get that down closer to the 200s. So on an oil cooler, something like this, where you have the potential of making a huge mess and it's a huge pain in the butt to fix it, you get what you pay for. I would say in this instance, get a Mishimoto or a Perrin oil cooler if you want an oil cooler. Now the S-Good top mount brackets, they have a Perrin specific one or a Mishimoto specific one, so you're covered either way. So traditionally those fit up in front of your radiator. With the front mount intercooler, it's not going to fit there. So this relocation bracket is really cool. You can look up the S-Good on Facebook. Thanks for watching my video, where sometimes I install stupid things so you don't have to. If you enjoyed this sort of stuff, browse through the other videos on my channel and consider subscribing. Thanks for being here, and I'm